Lesson 8, High Threes. The next big step is learning how to play with high threes. In Western music, all notes can be broken down into whole and half steps. Thus far, you have played with the whole step between your index and middle finger for a high 2, and a half step between your index and middle finger for a low 2. The next step is to play with high threes. To play a high 3, you must stretch the ring finger away from the middle finger towards the bridge, creating a whole step between the middle and ring fingers. Here's a demonstration of how a high 3 looks from the hand view. And here's an example of how a high 3 looks when the violin is held guitar style. And here is an example of how a high 3 looks in the proper violin playing position. Here on a violin map that shows all the high 3s, you'll notice that the high 3s are a half step past the third tape. On the G string, high 3 is a C sharp. On the D string, a high 3 is a G sharp. On the A string, high 3 is a D sharp, and on the E string, high 3 is an A sharp. To answer this correctly, you must select 4 keys for these notes. On the E string, select E for the correct note, select sharp for the sharp, select 3 for the correct finger, and select H for high finger. One of the most common key signatures with high 3s is A major. It has 3 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. If you see any sharps or flats at the beginning of the staff, those note letters will always have the sharp or flat. In A major, you'll notice that the G and D strings will have a high 3 because of the C and G sharps, while A and E strings will have a regular 3. The most common mistake when playing an A major is not correctly switching between high and regular 3s when moving between D and A strings. You'll notice that the G string has an X through the open string. That is because every G is sharp, so there is no open G in A major.